Hi everyone, welcome to Leadership Adventure. I'm Marv McCarthy, your host, and I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. And remember, here at Leadership Adventure, we provide insight and inspiration to help empower leaders. So that's what we are all about. Now today is Tuesday, January 30th, 2024, which means it's time for our weekly blog. Our episode today is about the totally addicting game, Tetris. Let's jump in. So probably most of you have played Tetris at some point, or at least you're aware of it. It was actually created all the way back in 1984 by a Russian guy named Alexei Pajitnov. He was, kind of like me, a nerd. And when he created Tetris, he was actually a software engineer at the Soviet Academy of Sciences. So this is interesting. He named the game Tetris because tetra is the Greek word for four, and all of the game's pieces, as you may recall, contain four segments. Now, tennis was also his favorite sport, so he just sort of glued the two words together. The game kind of languished for a few years, but it actually became a household word once Nintendo acquired the rights to it in 1989, and then they released it on the Game Boy. They celebrate their 40th anniversary next year, and the game is still going crazy in the market. The pieces in Tetris are called tetronymos. Each tetronomo falls down into the well, which is the area at the bottom of the screen. And the goal of the game, just in case you're not familiar, is to move and rotate the falling blocks into a horizontal line without any gaps. Now, when that line is formed, then that whole bottom line disappears, and any blocks above it fall down to fill the vacant space. Good fun, and as I said at the outset, highly addictive. Now, one of the most important parts of Tetris is visualization. And as we know, this is also a very, very significant part of our leadership. So today, I'd like to look at three aspects of visualization and see how we might effectively apply them to our work. And I'm also going to tie these three to the Pareto principle, which we've discussed before. So piece number one is actually assessment. You know, as the tetronomos are coming down the screen, players must rapidly assess the shape and the orientation of the falling pieces and quickly visualize where those pieces would fit best in the well. And leaders similarly need to visualize outcomes. We need to cast vision for those outcomes, and we need to bring needed resources to bear to make those outcomes a reality. Now, if you put it in Pareto principle terms, 20% of those outcomes, approximately, will yield 80% of your impact. So part of this assessment piece is, as a leader, it's to assess which outcomes you are going to sort of hitch your wagon to, so to speak. The second thing I'd like to touch on today, number two, is anticipation. So as the tetronomos are dropping down into the well, you know, the players you often have to plan several moves ahead, otherwise you'll just lose track. And you have to visualize how your current actions will affect your future options. Again, just like leaders. As leaders, seeing how things fit together is a huge part of our job. So we have to be able to create margin in our schedules to give this anticipation due focus. It's imperative. Again, in Pareto terms, learning to anticipate the best 20% of your possible moves, whether it's personnel, money, project priorities, or whatever, those 20%, again, will yield about 80% of your success. Another interesting aspect of this is that by anticipating, you can also remove 80% of the possible constraints that may be coming at you down the road. All right, the third aspect and the final one that we'll take a look at today, comparing our leadership visualization with Tetris, is the subject of awareness. And this is a really big one, you guys. Tetris requires a high degree of spatial awareness. It requires an understanding of how different shapes can fit together in a rapidly changing environment. Now for leaders, I call this situational awareness. We have to be tuned into markets. We have to be tuned into competition. We have to be tuned into factors that may be affecting our team. And we also have to pay attention to maybe outside environmental conditions. and you ignore these things, these outside influences, at your own peril. So if you're always stuck in the weeds, doing things that aren't strategically important for you, you will never reach the state of awareness that you need to achieve your best as a leader. So remember, distraction is your enemy. Focusing on the most important 20% of factors relevant to your specific situation and specific job will always yield 80% of the best results. Now, if only I'd have dreamed up Tetris before Mr. Pagitnov did, that would have been awesome. Sometimes it really does pay to be a nerd. All right, you guys, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for being with me and for listening, and I will see you next time.